After lunch, second.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to County Commissioners meeting, April the 2nd, 2018. I'm sorry, April 5th, 2018. And as customary, we'll begin with a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we will begin with public comment, and as has become customary, David Wisely from back at the Gap.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Weissman, Town Gap. The Gap has been extremely busy last couple of weeks. In fact, as of the end of March, we've had over 61,000 personnel turn at the Gap. Figures that we have projected out will have us exceeding our man days, which is our metric that we measure the use of the Gap, by a good amount from last year. Week of the 2nd through the 8th, this week we'll have 6,500 troops on the Gap. The week following we'll have over 7,000. And then rolling into the 4th week of the month we'll have over 5. So that's a fairly significant use of the Gap. It's our busy season where a lot of troops start coming in for their annual training has already kicked off. We're getting ready to kick off, so local residents can expect to see a lot of increased activity around the Gap. Live fire exercises, we've already had a good deal of artillery training already this month. 6th through the 8th, we're going to have artillery training. 10th and the 11th, we're going to have mortar training. And we're also going to have mortar training on the 28th and 29th. That, in addition to a busy flight schedule at Muir Army Airport, which puts lots of helicopters in the air, so we appreciate everybody's patronage, putting up with our sounds of training. That's all I have for today. Pending any of you all's questions.
I have no particular questions.
Okay, thank you.
No questions. Appreciate you continuing to come and keep us updated. So
Thanks, sir.
thank you for that. All right, next with public comment is Karen Simpson. Karen, if you want to come forward, and you have someone with you as well.
My mother.
Is she come with you to the table? And if you'll begin by actually introducing yourselves, you may be seated. And tell the folks in attendance here today what your interest is in being here, and you may begin.
Okay, thank you. My name is Karen Simpson, and I reside at 2570 Emma Road, Lebanon. And I'm here with regards a little bit to last meeting, that last commissioner meeting. I would like to answer some of the questions that were asked by a citizen at that previous meeting regarding the railroad bed and the present day Miley Farm with respect to travel and safety. I do apologize for not being here at that time, but I had just had surgery the day before, so I wasn't able to be here. Mr. Waldman had stated, I did watch it, and he stated he couldn't answer some of the questions that were asked. So it was asked how the farmer is going to travel. The railroad bed divides the entire property in approximately half, east and west. A creek divides the property in half, north and south, and thus the farm will be divided in quarters. Without the availability of the usage of the railroad bed as travel, even with the crossings which were approved by you last meeting, it will be mandatory for creek crossings to be approved by DEP and EPA as stated before. Even the engineer himself, I talked to him personally when he walked the trail, and he himself stated that he did not want to get involved with needing permits for wetlands and creek crossings. This is a timely and expensive venture, and no matter who farms this land, until and if that is accomplished, once again, the public will have the inconvenience and safety issues of farm equipment mandated to travel the main public roads as previously discussed. My main reason for being here today is I wanted to request this time to publicly clear the names of my Aunt Lois Miley and Uncle Richard Miley. Why wouldn't they believe they owned the railroad bed? They purchased the farm in 1974 and paid taxes on the property, which included the railroad bed, which meant so did their predecessors. Several years ago, the county hired a company to reassess all the properties in the county. I personally talked to the workers as they were doing their job when they were on the railroad bed, and once again, the railroad bed was included in the county's new property assessment of my aunt and uncle's property. When my aunt and uncle put their farm in farmland preservation, again, the railroad bed was included in that property. My aunt thus firmly believed that they owned the land and the railroad only owned the right-of-way. It wasn't until just a few years ago that all of a sudden their acreage for their property was decreased by the amount of the railroad bed. As stated by the reports from Commissioner Litz, that the Reading Railroad and Pagnotti Enterprises were also paying taxes on that property, thus indicating that two separate entities were paying taxes for the same parcel of land for numerous years. Are there any other properties, land parcels that the county is charging two different sources for the same land? And if so, where is that money? My aunt was an extremely intelligent woman and did a lot of research in this building, as she was very, very involved with the historical part of Lebanon County. And trust me, if she had any clue that the railroad company and they themselves were both paying taxes for the same property, it would have been dealt with a long time ago. My aunt and uncle were very much pro-agriculture, but they were extremely community-oriented. When they preserved their farm almost 20 years ago, they specifically took a section of their farm out of farmland preservation, which was not the railroad bed, but a section perpendicular to the railroad bed, which was the towpath of the Union Canal. Their goal was to someday create a community trail along that towpath of the Union Canal, which runs through their farm. They were not opposed to rails to trails, as my aunt served on some of those committees. They would have loved to have seen the trail use the old towpath for not only a recreational, but a historical trail. It was also discussed with State Farmland Preservation as a possibility of having rails to trails go along the perimeter of that property, which would have, again, a historical value, as it would pass with the Union Canal locks. Both of these options were apparently not considered by Rails to Trails, even though an already completed phase back in Jonestown was diverted around the perimeter of another property rather than going through the middle of that property and diverted around a development. I am not part of the Miley estate or I have any involvement with the settlement. I am just a niece who wanted to clear the names of my aunt and uncle, who I feel were slandered throughout this whole ordeal. I never understood why they purposefully took a section of their farm out of farmland preservation. But clearly, they were the epitome of community citizens who sacrificed at their own expense to serve the community with a potential path along a historic site, but not at the expense of of ruining the viability of their farm and ultimately posing another potential danger to the community. My cousins, I feel, did their best to honor Aunt Lois and Uncle Rich's dreams and wishes, but unfortunately, their dream of about 20 years ago, having a community trail along the Union Canal towpath, was denied. They were truly community-serving citizens of Lebanon County. Thank you for your time, for allowing me to publicly clear their names and any unwanted slander or fabrications that may have been told.
Thank you for coming here this morning. And, we certainly appreciate your comments. Do you have any questions or anything?
No, I'd like to also clear the air. I was very complimentary in numerous posts about family and the ending result that we came up with. I may disagree with some of the facts presented, but it's no use arguing about it. I think we're all in agreement on the final solution. So I think it's important that we move forward and work together, because I think the world of Lois and Richard Miley. I worked with them closely over the years in various projects. And I want to say thank you for coming in, and I do respect everything you say and your point of view. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, next on the public comment, we have Michael Schroeder and the Pipeline Awareness Group. So, Michael and anyone else who's going to speak can come forward. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for seeing it. Michael Schroeder, I live in South Anvil Township.
I'm Jamie Willard, and I live in South Londonderry Township, but I'm here as a relative of a landowner affected by this issue who lives in North Anvil Township.
My name is Pam Bishop. Happy to be here today and to see you folks before. And I'm with the Concerned Citizens of Lebanon County.
So, again, good morning. We just have several things we'd like to bring to your attention. I've already sent an email, and so you've been sort of briefed on what we intend to bring up today. The first is we provided...
Before you start, we did have a bit of a discussion yesterday, and your request to have the information uploaded onto our website concerning citations and so on that have been given, we're perfectly in agreement to do that, so we don't need to spend time discussing that necessarily.
Okay, I'll be very concise with that.
Pardon me?
And the letter to the governor, did we discuss that?
No, we did not.
Misunderstood.
Okay, so thank you for that. As you know, just briefly, we provided something on the magnitude of 25 reports from Lebanon County Conservation District documenting the systematic violation of the Clean Streams Law. I haven't actually counted them, it's close to 100 different violations. And what concerns us in particular is that this is part of the ongoing process, that every 2 weeks when Carl Kirchner and the Lebanon County Conservation District go out, they find new violations of the Clean Stream Law, and there seem to be no consequences. So we again have provided you with reports from the Conservation District, a partial list of reports from Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection. There are more that we intend to pluck from and provide, pluck from their website and provide to you, and from FERC. This pattern of systematic violation we want to bring to your attention. And we also want to express our concerns in a very related matter about the violations of water rights and property rights of the citizens of Lebanon County, especially with respect to Sunoco's contamination of groundwater. And I know you, Commissioner Litz, have been involved in putting together and submitting a grant proposal for well testing, which should be done prior to construction, so there could be a baseline test. So this is another area of concern, is that the groundwater for many Lebanon County residents is being appreciate your efforts for this grant, and we again want to sort of emphasize the importance of this for citizens of Lebanon County. We also want to express our concerns that this ongoing pipeline build-out is jeopardizing property values in areas where it's being built and has the real potential to depress tax revenues. This is a longer-term process, as you know, but when there's a pipeline going through a property that is, say, 100 feet from the home, it only makes common sense that property would be diminished in its market value, which in turn would redound to reduce tax revenue. So, as county commissioners, I would expect that this would be an area of real concern, because tax revenues is what the county sort of operates on. So, in light of all those concerns, we ask, and thank you for agreeing to post and make publicly available these various reports on the systematic violation of the Clean Streams Law and so on. And we thank you for that. And then we'd also like to ask that the commissioners express their collective concern in letters to PADEP Secretary McDonnell, to Governor Wolf, and to the Public Utilities Commission, because this is an ongoing issue, and as the leading body in Lebanon County, it would seem appropriate that the commissioners would be the body to the public entity to express these concerns to these statewide entities. So that's, in a nutshell, what we came to say.
I would make a motion to send a letter as requested to Secretary McDonnell at DEP, Governor Wolf, and the Public Utility Commission, expressing our concern over violations of the Clean Stream Law, which they must uphold the Constitution. So I think that that's in order to send that letter expressing our concern.
I'll second the motion. For discussion purposes, should we do this in concert with Carl?
Well,
We can get more information in terms of exactly what kind of wording we want to have in this.
well, we have a motion and a second, so we are in a position to discuss. And I myself have difficulty justifying why we need to notify the folks that are in charge of overseeing this project. They're obviously aware of any issues that exist. Why do we have to put DEP and the Public Utilities Commission and the governor on notice on something that they should be on top of already?
Well, in our view, thank you for that response, and respectfully, in our view, there have been no consequences. There have been no fines as a result
Really?
of these.
I heard at least one time of a $12 million.
That's on the other part of the state. That's way out. That's out in the southeast. So that has nothing to do with Lebanon County. And I guess it just strikes us that as leaders of the county, that looking after the interests, the best interests of the citizens of Lebanon County, that it would be incumbent upon, it would fall within the purview of the Board of Commissioners to express concern. That's all we're asking, that the commissioners express concerns to these entities, because clearly this is a systematic pattern. We have documentation going back at least 6 months that shows very frequently that these inadvertent returns and other violations of the Clean Streams Law are taking place. And it seems completely appropriate to us that just a letter of concern saying this is an area of concern, and in particular also I would think we would think that the property value issue and the potential threat to tax revenue would also be a concern to the commissioner.
Make one more statement.
Sure.
One of the other things that I think brings an urgency to a letter at this time is the fact that many of our streams have been stocked with trout. Fishermen are going to be out there en masse fishing for those trout, and mud spills at this time can clog the gills of the trout, and we could have fish kills. And I think that it's important that at this time we do send this letter, because there's increased, not just the fines, I'm talking about recreation, I'm talking about our economy, because this brings money to our economy when fishermen are buying licenses from the state, when they're out buying tackle and fishing rods and nets and everything else that goes along with fishing. So it speaks to many different issues in addition to the law.
May I comment on Commissioner Blitz's comment? It was a comment I have written down that I was going to make. And I think I'm glad that you brought up the issue of the streams that may be affected in terms of fishing. And that is, you may or may not realize that the construction of the Sunoco Mariner East 2 pipeline project has affected four of the six sub-watersheds in the Quittapilla Creek. And those watersheds that have been affected, and you can tell this because the DEP has issued NOVs or is taking other action. Killinger Creek had an NOV for discharge to the creek.
Excuse me, Pam, for the sake of the folks.
Notice of violation.
Yeah, that just.
Oh, sorry, yes.
People know what that means.
Yeah, notice of violations.
So they're-
And which creek was that?
Well, Killinger Creek and all of the sub-watersheds in the Quittapilla watershed are trout stocked fishing watersheds. To follow up on your comment, Commissioner. Killinger Creek and Bachman Run, of course, last summer Bachman Run suffered a fish kill because of activities along the construction of the pipeline. Beck Creek has been subject to, I would say, historic gasoline contamination, which is where the private well on Spangle Road, there was discovery of benzene and other gasoline products in that private well. And that's Beck Creek. And then Snitz Creek, of course, has been cited for violation 3 or 4 times for the release of what they call inadvertent returns to the creek during their startup of trying to do horizontal directional drilling, HDD. And now, that construction is now under a temporary pause while the company again is to study the geology and to convince DEP before they can resume construction at Snitz Creek that they will not have any further inadvertent returns of drilling mud and then not affect private wells in the area, which is a big concern.
It just seems like pausing in their work and citations and notices of violation would be consequences that DEP is already, I mean, if you're saying no consequences, issues with no consequence, I want to make sure if we do a letter, which I'm not opposed to, if there's a letter that needs to be done, but I want to make sure that if we're going to put our names to it, or my name to it at least, that it's accurate. And so Carl Kirshner, and I'd like to just consult to make sure that we're wording it properly and not saying that there are no consequences, and then we get a letter back saying, well, here are notices of violations and other things that we have been doing. I just want to make sure that the letter that's done is accurate.
Oh, absolutely.
I've
And we can
had,
provide the documentation of the effect on these 4 trout stock fisheries in Lebanon County for you to add to your information. I would like to say this, to bring you up to date on the construction of Mariner East. There have been statewide over 48 NOVs issued.
Notices of violation.
Many by DEP, and many of those are actually multiple violations in one notice, if you'll forgive me. And well over 100 inadvertent returns have been noted, and this is all information that is available to the public on the DEP, what they call the pipeline portal website. The PUC in March issued an emergency order shutting down Mariner East 1, and it continues to be shut down unless and until the Sunoco does what the PUC requested, which is a geologic study of an area that is in a limestone area down in southeast PA, where they experienced sinkholes some 15 feet deep, and that exposed the Mariner 1 pipeline because they're putting the Mariner 2 in the same right-of-way as the Mariner 1. And that was nearby an Amtrak facility, and several homeowners in the area were asked to evacuate because there was potential or damage to their foundations from the sinkholes activity. And that continues. The Mariner 1 is shut down all over the state. However, the study is of this particular area where the pipe was exposed in West Whiteland Township in Chester County. The recently, I think this week, Sunoco sent letters to some of the nearby residents in that area, offering to relocate them and give them a food allowance for 4 to 6 weeks while they investigate the geologic conditions. And one wonders why this investigation was not done prior to the issuance of the permits for Mariner 2, because Mariner 2 follows in most parts of the state, follows the Mariner 1 right-of-way, and that includes in Lebanon County. And particularly, I would bring to your attention, we have the same geology in Lebanon County, which is very good for agriculture, and that is the limestone formations. But it is problematic if you're putting in pipelines that could result in contamination of our groundwater resources and private wells in the area. And the company has offered people in Lebanon County who live near the Smiths Creek proposed HDD, the horizontal directional drilling. They have tried 3 or 4 times, and each time they get the return of the drilling mud into the creek and into the wetlands, and they must stop construction and then submit some more information to DEP about their ability or steps that they will take to avoid this in the future. The last time this happened was just a couple weeks ago, where DEP gave them permission to proceed. They started early morning that day, I think it was the 16th of March, and by 10 a.m. they had an immediate return. They properly informed DEP that this had occurred, and they stopped work. And DEP issued the NOV that said you will not resume work until we say again you can, and ask them again for more documentation that they can do this safely and within the bounds of their permits. And I think that the fact that this is happening in Lebanon County should be a particular concern to our commissioners, again, because it's affecting the trout stock fishery potentially and private wells. And we know that in Lebanon County, many people are on private wells who live on or near the pipeline.
Pam, would it upset you if I would call for the vote?
No.
I'd like to call for the vote, please.
Yes.
Are you asking for the vote?
Well, no, you had mentioned that you, before you voted to do this, you were interested in gathering more information.
I think it was the wording of the letter that we write, so that we don't say something that's inaccurate.
May I explain that? Right.
Absolutely, yeah, you may explain what you meant.
Thank you, though, for trying to interpret it for me. You know, my goal is just to have an accurate letter. So if Commissioner Witz would amend to a motion to have some background work done on this before we send out, so it's not just our opinion. And I appreciate and applaud the work you guys do. It's all volunteers, and that extra layer of scrutiny is valuable to all of us in the county. So that's the place I'm coming from with my willingness to cooperate with you, because I think it is a good idea if our folks that are part of this sign off on it also. So that's where I've been.
Yeah, it was our assumption that the letter, any letter that you would write would be accurate and would express the facts of the case.
Because I don't want to accuse somebody of no consequences if they give us a list that certainly all these NOVs and such. So
I would amend my motion to write this letter in consultation with Carl Kirchner from the Conservation District for assurance of accuracy.
second.
And I think appropriately, I can say this under discussion with this motion. I serve as a director on the Conservation District and attend monthly meetings and talk to Carl on a regular basis. And we talked about this escaping of drilling fluids and so on. And I hope I don't misquote Carl. I don't think I am. Carl indicated to me that he has requested a number of times that if DEP would listen to his recommendations, a lot of these incidents could be averted, because he indicated that the drilling fluid obviously is under pressure, and just like any fluid under pressure is going to find a weakest point for a release point, and Carl indicated that the pipeline contractors could immediately begin to recover that where it escapes, but DEP will not allow them to do that. So I think that should be on record, that perhaps even DEP, the folks that we're appealing to, may be erroneous in some of the things that they're asking for or requiring. So with that said, all those in favor of the motion as presented indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Great, maybe just one last thing real quick, which is another sort of aspect that plays into this is, as you know, the Lebanon County Stormwater Consortium, which is poised to begin imposing fees on property owners with impervious surface. And so this is another sort of aspect of this process. Lebanon County property owners are being required to pay a fee for stormwater management. And so, you know, again, it's in the direct material interest of the citizens of Lebanon County that these pipeline construction companies adhere to both the spirit and the letter of the law with respect to clean streams. So the whole MS4 thing, I think, feeds into it as well.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I have a question, not for these people, but,
Okay.
I mean, I have a lot of questions for them, but we're not gonna, they have gone on long enough. But I have a question. Would that be allowed?
Yeah, I suppose, what's it pertain to?
Turn the camera back on. 600 clicks, that isn't bad. You won't be buying that.
No, I don't monetize mine.
Gotta
I'm
get
a
into
public
billions.
servant.
Yeah, quick question. I'm gonna ask this. Question is, there's an incident occurred in this building about a month and a half ago, right down here in the lobby. It seems like a sheriff's deputy attacked a citizen as he was coming in the building. And the unique situation here is, it's on video, on YouTube, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I received a phone call, and the person that called me said, you gotta watch the video, and I did. And when I did, I'm deeply disturbed by it. You know what it's about. I'd like to hear you. What I'm doing, I'm investigating. I'm doing research on it. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. I don't like it. What I've seen so far and what I've heard so far, I don't like. So I'd like to hear your side of it.
Well, I don't, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a side, Martin.
Or your take on it.
And I think it's a legal issue, and I would rely on the district attorney and his folks to handle the investigation. So I'm not, quote, investigating the situation.
But the district attorney and the sheriff and everybody else is in your employ. You're the bosses,
They are.
right? So with the final,
Not the district attorney.
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to
They're
them.
elected officials.
Who?
Yeah. Well, the sheriff and the district attorney are elected officials.
But they still get paid by this
And
county.
they have their own
They
autonomy.
still get paid by the county, right?
That's
The
correct.
district attorney gets some funding from the state.
But a lot of it from the county. We're not gonna split hairs here. Okay, you say they're investigating it. Is that what you're telling me?
That's an assumption.
Assumption, yeah. And the result of this investigation, do you think I will be informed of that any time in my lifetime? And I know I'm in my late 70s, but my mother still lives at 96, so I might be around a while, you know. Will I be informed, will the general public find out about it?
I would think so.
Because you see, Ames, I'm here all my life, and I watch things pretty carefully. And the cover-ups that have come out of this building and in the old building in 8th and Cumberland are enough to make you sick. I don't want this covered up. Because what I seen on that video, and like they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't like it. I mean, I'm disturbed by it. I mean, where do we live? Where do I live? The United States of America or a third world dictatorship where people get beat up for nothing? I don't, you know, if I asked you the question, the deputy involved in this, is he still employed by the county, or has any disciplinary measures been taken against him? You can't answer that, of course, right? So I knew coming in here, that's what I was gonna be told, that because it's a personnel issue, or an advisory attorney, you can't comment
No,
on
I
it.
haven't said that. I haven't said that. I said I just do not know.
May I just add something to that? This is not a personnel matter. It's a criminal, there are criminal charges pending, and so the district attorney is 100% in charge of this matter.
So you have nothing to do with it?
No.
It's out of your hands?
Yes.
So then I have to go to his office, or his office,
Well,
and what am I gonna be told there?
Well, it's-
Same thing I'm getting here.
These are public, I mean, the criminal prosecution is public. So if you're awaiting the results of an investigation, there are charges pending, and if it ultimately ends in whatever result, whether it be go to trial, found not guilty, found guilty, plea agreement, whatever, all of those things are available to the public. There's nothing that the commissioners are involved with that they have any influence over at this point, especially the district attorney and the sheriff. So,
What's it look like I got off the boat yesterday? I've been around a long
I
time.
understand that, but
You know what I'm saying?
you're looking to them for the results of an investigation, and the commissioners
Yeah.
are not involved.
No, I just
in it.
came here to hear his side of it. Maybe he can give me his side of it. What I'm getting, I don't like. But I'm thinking, hey, be fair, come to you guys, right? And hear your side of it. Then I'll make up my mind what's going on here. That's all I'm after. Like I said, cover-ups, this county, this city is famous for them. And I don't want this to become a cover-up. I want it to see the light of day. Right?
Sure.
There's a date. You're all about First Amendment rights and freedoms, and you can't say nothing either.
I didn't say I couldn't say anything. I just think part of what happened that day is that he got caught up in, I don't know the details, I'll say that up front, but there was a heightened alert that day for other reasons.
Yeah, motorcycle gang. Oh, I know all about that. They weren't coming here. The man that told me in the beginning, I seen him on the street, he said, you know, there's a motorcycle gang coming. And we won't mention the name of the motorcycle gang. And I laughed at him. What would that motorcycle gang want in this beat-up, run-down backwater town? They got a lot bigger fish to fry. Believe me, they do. They weren't coming here. That's what, it was on heightened alert. In the video, in the 15 years I'm coming in this building, I've never seen a deputy standing out front. As soon as I seen that video when he's coming up the steps, the red flag started going up. I thought something's going on here. That's what it was all about. So this deputy to me, he overreacted. In other words, if this person was coming here representing Frontline Media, if he was looking to draw attention to himself or his cause, man, your deputy played right into his hands. In other words, this deputy, he attacked this man physically, where this situation should have been diffused verbally. And if he doesn't have the training or the intelligence to do that, then the only uniform he is fit to wear is that of a train conductor. That's my assertion, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. We'll
I'll throw out a date real quick. May the 25th, 1968. You realize, you know that date?
Is that the civil rights?
No,
No?
no.
Help me out then.
That was a date. Oh man, it's rough. That was a date. A poor little 14-year-old girl that was born into a bad situation at a rundown apartment building at 8th and Maple was heinously and savagely slaughtered. Her name was Peggy Reaver. And as soon as her poor little body was found, man, that's when the cover-up started in this county by the bourgeoisie and the elitists, because she was from the wrong side of the tracks. Well, I'm from the wrong side of the tracks too. And that anniversary is going to be coming up shortly. That was a cover-up. That was the darkest mark on Lebanon County, and still is. Maybe that's why the Lebanon County, the city is in the shape it is today. Maybe little Peggy Reaver's having her revenge, isn't she? This isn't going to be a cover-up either. Not if I can help it. So that's my saying. Believe me, I'll be back. Because I have more people. This isn't done with me. I've got more people to see. And when I have my facts, so far I think I have all my facts in line. And another thing, well, this is my first dealing with government. That's how it works. You could go from this department to this department to this department.
My comments were related to your statement that the commissioners employ these people and implying that they should be intervening somehow. They don't employ the district attorney and the sheriff.
But who pays their wages? Some of it, the county, I pay it, right?
But that doesn't give them the authority.
We do not have authority over elected officials, though.
Is that
Every,
right?
every row officer has some autonomy.
Gee, remember when I came here about EIT? That's the same story I got. Well, we can't get involved in it. Well, they should have got involved in it. That's here, that's gone, that's water under the bridge. And you see where that went to.
The commissioners are not the king of all.
So then I have to go down to Arnold, right?
Sure.
And then what's Arnold's office, even if I get past the Connor, then what's gonna happen?
don't
I
know.
get
I
run
can't
on
speak
around
for him.
again.
I can't speak for him.
Like I say, Jamie, I didn't get off the boat
I
yesterday.
understand that. I'm well aware of that.
You're well aware.
I'm just addressing what your statement was, that they employ them and they should have some, implying they should have some influence, and they simply don't.
So in other words, I'm gonna leave here today knowing I'm getting a runaround and it's evolved into a
If
cover-up.
a county commissioner has an opinion on a criminal case, for example, that
Okay,
doesn't
he
make
can't
any
comment
difference to
because-
the,
all right.
that doesn't make any difference. to
He
the district
can't
attorney.
comment because this man's hearing didn't come up
May
yet.
I finish what I'm trying to get
Go
across?
ahead.
The district attorney is independent. The investigations he conducts, the conclusions he draws, and what he decides to prosecute and not prosecute is not up to anyone else. He's the top law enforcement.
And I don't like to deal with him.
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
okay, but
I don't like
I'm
to deal with
stating,
him.
I'm stating facts according to, state law.
Isn't it refreshing though somebody comes in here and just tells it like it is? You know what I mean?
Yeah, Martin, I do appreciate that, but you had made a request to be on the agenda and you
Right.
withdrew that.
Right, and you know why I did that? Because I didn't have my facts together. I thought about it over the weekend. I went to see Kathy and I got on the agenda, but I didn't have my facts all together over the weekend. So I thought, and I went on Monday already, Kathy, ahead of time, more time, and gave her ample notice, I don't want to be in the agenda. But then I got thinking about it, and I thought, well, I'll just simply ask you what you can tell me about it. And I get nothing, so I'll leave. But I will be back, believe me, okay?
All right, thank you.
And as far as the pipeline, there's a Latin phrase, ad nauseum. Haven't we heard enough about that? I'm out of here.
Okay. Are we ready for the minutes?
Yes, I have some additions slash corrections. On page 560, under the paragraph that starts Thomas Cote, previous to the final sentence after the semicolon, and from 12th Street to 22nd Street on Chestnut Street is how I would suggest that it be worded. I think it's important, some of the public is confused as to whether or not it includes the bridge crossing the Quittapahilla as well as going around the mall. And so I think it's important to designate what that grant covers. And then on the next page, there were just two typos. I don't know, that's a general term I pointed out to Kathy, which really doesn't change anything. So I make a motion to approve with amendments.
I'll second it, subject to checking for accuracy of what she has just presented.
What were
The
the
addresses.
12th and the 22nd Street is after that? What were the other
Oh,
corrections?
the other one, the word "to" should be in, my latest state, the right to cross the active and developed railbed. It's just a word was missed, and then here it's redundant, of support, in support of. So it was just making it readable.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the last meeting with 3 corrections to be validated. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We're ready for the treasurer's report.
Okay, we had receipts on April the 3rd and April the 4th of $3,586,995.19. That brought us to a total cash of $7,612,188.78. We had expenditures this week of $3,523,022.26. Our undistributed tax claim is $66,372.98. So that left us a balance of $4,022,793.54. Now, I did put $1 million back into our unassigned funds that we used for bills earlier this year, but we still have a balance there of $1 million to put back. And since this report, I also paid our insurance this morning, $874,000 plus some.
The health
Also came out, yes, for the month of April. So that's where we stand with that.
I'll move to approve.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report as presented. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the treasurer's report indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The treasurer's report is approved. Ms. Newman, thank you.
Thank you.
Any-
Yes, actually.
Okay.
We have debt payments by April 15th, so they need to be approved at this meeting.
Okay.
First, we have our 2006 loan from Wells Fargo in the amount of $151,343.71. That will be paid from the general fund. I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to make the debt payment to Wells Fargo. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Okay, and we also have a 2008 bank loan through Wells Fargo, and that amount due is $31,521.67.
Also move.
Second the motion?
Motion and a second to make the additional payment to Wells Fargo. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Okay, we also have a loan at Fulton Bank for 2015. That amount due is $74,250.
I will make a motion to pay Wells Fargo.
This is
74.
Fulton.
Fulton.
This is Fulton.
Thank you. $74,250.
Second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to pay Wells Fargo. All those Fulton, yeah, thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Okay, made, and we go into our general obligation bonds. We have a series 2015A, which needs to be paid to Fulton Financial, and that amount is $48,265.45.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion and a second to pay Fulton. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
We also have a bond that's series 2016. That amount due is $144,667.55 to Fulton Financial.
I'll move to pay $144,667.55 to Fulton Financial.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to make that payment to Fulton Financial. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
And there's one more, and that's our 2017 general obligation bond, and that amount due is $31,036.63 to Fulton Financial.
So moved.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second to make an additional payment to Fulton Financial. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
Personnel transactions. Proclamation for Betsy's retirement. And any other speeches might be made.
You meant Bob.
Yeah, it's not gonna be me.
Proclamation.
Yeah.
That'd be all right.
That'll be fine.
All right, whereas Elizabeth Betsy A. Youngs began her career with the County of Lebanon as an accountant for the Controller's Office on February 2nd, 1987. Whereas during her tenure, Betsy's service to the county and our agencies have included the administration of the accounting, auditing, payroll, retirement plan, and other related fiscal activities affiliated with the department. And whereas Betsy was a devoted and committed employee who exemplified integrity to her profession. She performed her duties and responsibilities in an efficient manner and effective professional manner, which reflect great credit upon herself and Lebanon County government. Whereas on April 7th, 2018, Elizabeth Youngs will retire as first deputy in the Controller's Office with over 31 years of distinguished service. Now therefore, we, the Commissioners of Lebanon County, on behalf of the past and present controllers and all our citizens, express our appreciation to Betsy for her many years of hard work and dedication on a job well done. Further, we extend congratulations and best wishes for a most rewarding future and the very best retirement.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that motion with pleasure. You've been steadfast in the county, and, you know, there was never any questioning your ability to do the numbers, and you've done it well. Thank you so much.
All right, I have a motion and a second to adopt this proclamation. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Proclamation is approved, and congratulations on your decision to retire. And we'll
Thank you.
present you this proclamation.
Thank you.
No, I mean, it's been a pleasure working here with the county. It really couldn't have been too bad. I would have stayed as long as I did, so. I hope future, employees, get the chance to stay as long as I did. It's great. Thank
We
you.
appreciate your service and the quality of your work, and wish you a happy and healthy retirement
Thank you.
with your family.
Enjoy those grandbabies.
Maybe face that way, we're just taking this photo. Photos on that side.
Oh. All right, congratulations on your retirement, and you certainly, as has already been said, we appreciate your years of service to the county. So
Well, thank you.
thank you. I'll turn that so they can see it.
Can I get one more picture, please?
I'll take pictures. Heavy artillery.
Hillary.
There's the good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Very
good.
good.
Congratulations.
See you later.
Betsy. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Human resource activities here. Prepare a proclamation. Gonna do a proclamation. All right.
Michelle Idris, Director of Human Resources. Moving on to personnel transactions, under terminations and resignations, we have Naomi Mullen, part-time LPN, job abandonment, March 23rd. Jose Colon, full-time correctional officer, resignation effective April 11th. Eileen Kleinfelder, probation aide, resignation effective March 14th.
Move to approve the resignations and terminations.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the terminations as presented. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Under FMLA leaves of absence, Nancy Short from Area Agency on Aging, 33-day it's a paid leave of absence effective March 29th. And Jeffrey Dans, Buildings and Grounds, 6 to 8 week FMLA effective March 14th, with the first unpaid day being March 29th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve those leaves of absence. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Moving on to changes of status, transfers, and promotion. Lisa Ahmed transferred from Accountant 1 in Children and Youth to Second Deputy Controller in the Controller's Office at the rate of $1,386.99 biweekly, effective April 9th. Eva Sachet, change of status, Correctional Officer Trainee to Full-Time Correctional Officer at the prison at the rate of $14.50 per hour, effective April 8th. Jordan Rich, change of status from Correctional Officer Trainee to Full-Time Correctional Officer at the prison at the rate of $14.50, effective April 8th. Brett Noel Emick, change of status from Correctional Officer Trainee to Full-Time Correctional Officer at the prison at the rate of $14.50 per hour, effective April 8th. And Stephen Gilbert, change of status from Correctional Officer Trainee to Full-Time Correctional Officer at the prison at the rate of $14.50 per hour, effective April 8th.
I'll move to approve the changes of status, transfers, and promotions.
Second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve those changes of status. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Moving on to other transactions, I have two motions. The first, to approve Controller Robert Metley's recommendation to create a temporary casual part-time trainer position within the Controller's office for Betsy Youngs to provide training to the new second deputy for the period of April 9th, 2018 through July 6th, 2018.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to make that special change in the Controller's office. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Second motion, to approve Chief Clerk of Voter Registration Michael Anderson's recommendation to reclassify the temporary casual part-time clerk position in his department to a temporary casual part-time maintenance position at a grade 7 on the non-union salary chart, effective immediately.
Also move to approve the voter registration request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve that staffing change. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
The Controller's Office would like to rehire Betsy Youngs as a temporary casual part-time trainer at the rate of $38.50 per hour, effective April 9th. And Minerva Center would like to rehire Michael Rubendahl as a full-time LPN at the rate of $20 per hour, effective April 9th.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve those two hirings. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Moving on to salary board, motion to approve all the transactions previously read, plus the following. Angel Price, salary increase as first deputy controller in the Controller's office to the rate of $2,307.69 biweekly, effective April 9th.
Second.
I All right, I have a motion and a second to all the salary board changes as presented. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Moving on to conference seminars,
You ready for this?
unless you want to do a motion to accept all the mandatory, so then I only have to read the non-mandatory.
And that's what we should do.
That'd be great.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the mandated conferences as presented in writing.
And they're available if anybody wants to see them, but there are a lot of them, so.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve all the mandatory conference attendances. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Thank you. Moving on to requested, Phaedra Burton would like to attend the following 2 trainings, Back to Basics in State College, July 17th, no registration fee, no other cost either.
Move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve that requested conference attendance. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
She would also like to attend the Apprise Conference at State College, May 8th through the 10th, no registration fee, lodging reimbursement, which is budgeted.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to attend that requested conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Mike Collins, Jeff Boiler, and Ann Devine from Area Agency on Aging would like to attend the knowledge sharing session for SAM's administrators in Gettysburg, April 18th and 19th, $320 total registration fee.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second to attend that requested AAA conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Michelle Long from Area Agency on Aging would like to attend the 2018 PDA Volunteer Conference at State College, April 10th. No registration fee, lodging, mileage, meals, and toll reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for the requested conference for folks from AAA. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Christopher Sides and Belva Charles Reen from Area Agency on Aging would like to attend the PDA Financial Reporting System Training in Harrisburg, May 15th. No registration fee, mileage, parking, and tolls reimbursement.
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the Area Agency on Aging requested conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Jamie Wogelmuth from the Commissioner's Office would like to attend the P Corp Risk Control Workshop in Harrisburg, April 6th. No registration fee, no other costs.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second to send Jamie away. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So ordered.
Phyllis Holtree, Sandy Long, and Ruth Snyder from Community Action Partnerships would like to attend the Community Action Symposium in Harrisburg, April 17th through 18th, and I believe that's supposed to be 19th. No registration fee, mileage reimbursement.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve that requested conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Jason Michael, Joseph Morales, Jeremy Leffler, Sean Zellers, Serena Strauss, Gianna Stone, Brad Moyer, Tyler Werkheiser, Jen Orozco, Russell Weitzel, and Caitlin Clay from the Department of Emergency Services would like to attend the Active Shooter Incident Management in Palmyra, April 9th. No registration fee, mileage reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for all of those folks to attend the active shooter workshop. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
A previously approved training, the dates have changed for Monica Gray from the District Attorney's Office. The sentencing seminar on guidelines in Malvern, it was originally March 28th, now has changed to March 21st. No registration fee, meals, parking, and tolls reimbursement.
I'll move this amendment.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve that change. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Leanne Chang from Human Resources, Controlling Workers' Compensation Cost Workshop in State College, March 27th, $60 registration fee and mileage reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for Leanne to attend that workers' comp workshop. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Shelley Dress and Leanne Shank from Human Resources would like to attend the Policies and Procedures for County Government in Harrisburg, April 25th. No registration fee, mileage, meals, and tools reimbursement.
Though I think they're smart enough already.
There's no tools here.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to send the human resources people out of town. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Shelley Dress and Leanne Shank from Human Resources would like to attend the Feedback Problem Employees and Discipline in Harrisburg, April 12th. No registration fee, mileage, and meals reimbursement.
Also move.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to approve that requested conference attendance. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Shelley Dress and Leanne Shank from Human Resources would like to attend the Major Challenges for Management in 2018, Harrisburg, May 9th, $120 total registration fee, mileage and meals reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to attend that conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
And I have a previously approved training that needed additional reimbursement added to it from Michelle Idris, Leanne Shank, and Renata Zimberg in Human Resources to attend the 2018 Benecon Health Benefits Seminar in Lancaster, April 5th and 6th. Registration is still $225. We need to add parking cost to that.
Also move to approve the parking addition.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the cost of parking. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Jamie George and Andrew Perzitsky from Planning and GIS would like to attend the PA GIS Conference in State College, May 14th through the 16th, $490 total registration fee, lodging, mileage, and meals reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second for the planning folks to attend that conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Kimberly Stang and Greg Petrick from the Planning Department would like to attend the PA Association of Zoning Officials Spring Education Forum in Hershey, April 22nd, $350 total registration fee, mileage, and meals reimbursement.
Also move.
Second.
Motion and a second to attend a planning conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Bradley Seifert from the Sheriff's Department would like to attend the ALICP Instructor Certification in Elizabethtown, June 11th and 12th, $595 total registration fee, no other costs.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to attend the sheriff's conference. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And Don Idris Policio from the Treasurer's Office would like to attend the PA Treasurers Association Spring Seminar in State College, April 11th, no registration fee, mileage, and meals reimbursement.
Also move. That was an addition.
That was the final one.
Motion and a second to attend the treasurer's conference. Dawn Idris. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
We need to convene the Board of Election, the election board at this time. And Mr. Anderson.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you. Michael Anderson, Elections and Voter Registration. I did want to start off and apologize. We are here for approval of the 2018 general primary sample ballots. That was my error. I apologize for that. What happens when you reuse the same memo and don't do pretty well enough. So I did present to the board with a couple of those sample ballots. And what I tried to do for you is I tried to include ballots that had the different races. As you know, we are now in the 9th U.S. Congressional District for the whole county of Lebanon, and we are in the 48th State Senatorial District for the whole county, but we do have 3 state legislative districts. We are in the 101st, 102nd, 104th. And so I have included those ballots for your review, and then we are asking for your approval of those absentee ballots. And I have all of them here, if there's any you need to see or questions, and we do provide those in both English and Spanish for all precincts.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the absentee ballots, the sample as presented by our Director of Elections. All those in favor of approving or adopting these ballots indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, ballots are approved. Anything else? We'll talk about voting machines.
We sure can if you like. I prepared for that. Sure. As you know, commissioners, you know, the news and some of the things coming from the governor's office regarding the voting machines. We of course have the DRE electronic voting machines in Lebanon County. I would like to go on the record to say that I believe our voting machines are performing very well. We do maintenance with those yearly, have them tested. Our vendor that we use has stated that he feels our equipment is in very good shape, considering the fact it is. I guess they're roughly about 10 years old now. And I applaud not only previous directors, but our poll workers and others that have worked with those equipment to keep it in that good shape. With that being said, you know, there has been some discussion about possibly decertifying all paperless systems, you know, in the future. And, you know, right now we're just hearing that that's a possibility. There has been no directive given to us by the Department of State. Our counterparts in the West, that they have their own Western elections personnel, met with the Department of State. I guess it's been a couple weeks ago now, and they were being told there were some feelers put out about the possibility of that possibly happening with the certification. So at this point, we're kind of wait and see. I can tell you that the Department of State has scheduled meetings with some of the election directors from some of the bigger counties. I know they're meeting with Dauphin County, Jerry, the director in Dauphin County, and they are meeting with Tim from Lehigh County as far as what their future plans would be as far as what they may want to do with their voting equipment. As we had discussed, my plan had been to continue using our DREs through the 2020 election and focusing some other different things I think that were a little bit more important in our county. But at this point, you know, we'll kind of wait and see what's going to happen. I did want to let the board know that because of some of the things we're hearing, I have started just, you know, communication I think is the biggest thing. Communicating with other directors from other counties, kind of seeing where they're going to do. It just so happened that our vendor was here yesterday, and so I was able to have a good meeting with him, and just had some discussions regarding some of the products that they're offering. I have reached out to another vendor that I have, you know, met before and seen some of their equipment. So just trying to get an idea. I'm not going to just sit on my laurels, just waiting for a decision to be made, just kind of pre-planning as much as possible. If it does come down that we will not be able to use our voting equipment, what we're hearing would be after 2019, that is when the decertification would occur, that you could use it through 2019, and after that you have some type of other system. But then, of course, then we're hearing the governor has given interviews and saying other things. And so at this point, until we hear something official from them, we really just don't know. But trying to plan ahead as much as possible and see what we can do.
So we'll just wait for our next unfunded mandate, right?
Not necessarily.
You know, there is some money that has come down because of the last budget that was passed. That was signed by President Trump. There is some money that is going to be available to the states for election reform. Unfortunately, we don't know how much at this point. It's probably not going to be anywhere near what we'll need.
Exactly.
I know that it's been discussed with the governor about some type of unfunded mandate, and that we really would like to have something from the state if they're going to force us to do it earlier than what the counties were planning on. But I wanted to make you aware, because obviously if something has to occur, that's something we'll have to look at in the 2019 budget, if there's some kind of county financing that's going to have to occur. But just looking at just roughly some of the equipment that still has to go through the new certification because of the new mandates that have been handed out by the governor. Even that type of equipment that does have a paper trail, and we're talking about basically a equipment that's similar to a DRE that will mark a ballot, that will spit out a piece of paper that then would have to be scanned. Basically what would happen is the DRE right now allows you to not only cast your vote, but also count your vote. That's what's gonna go away. They will no longer certify any equipment that does just that. It has to be basically separated, it has to have some type of audible paper trail in case of recount or some type of irregularities. And then they're also talking about having some type of uniform auditing system throughout the whole Commonwealth. Which basically means we audit basically using a certain formula. And so those are the types of things that the governor is kind of looking at and what we're hearing about and why they're talking about possibly decertifying. But yeah, that's where we're kind of at this point.
Commissioner?
Yes, having been here when these machines were purchased, I distinctly remember that one of the reasons we chose this machine was because it is capable of producing a paper trail with an additional part. However, the reason it was never certified was because all the votes are printed in succession and you could determine who voted how.
Correct.
By looking at the poll book.
Correct.
So therefore, my question to you is the company looking at an approvable paper trail that could be added on in that slot? That we wouldn't have to buy all the machines, that we could continue and use these and just add the paper trail mechanism?
No, I don't believe they are, and the reason being because we're already at the useful life. We're at the useful life of the DRE machines that were purchased in 2006, I believe. And so at this point, just adding that function, we would still have some of the issues that we have now with the machines, which they perform, I believe, very well. But we do have calibration issues, things that we have to be proactive with. And since we're at the end of the useful life of those machines, I think what they're saying is, you know, we need to go to something completely different. And it has to be, I believe that, I don't know a whole lot about the paper part that you're referring to, but I believe that was a running paper, if I'm understanding.
That's what I said.
And this would have to be.
It was a continuous roll.
It has to be individual, and it has to be count, like I said, it can't count. Right
It
now,
has-
the DR
It
does
would have
both.
to cut them. It simply would have to add a
Right,
cutter.
but it does not get rid of the fact that the DRE is not, is marking and counting. And that is what's not going to be certified anymore. You're gonna have to have, you can't have a machine that does both. It has to be, you're gonna have to have some type of paper trail that can then be independently counted individually.
Right,
And then you have to be able to keep track of that.
right.
Yeah. So,
I understand.
yeah. So to answer your question, no, I don't believe they'll look at modifying the current system we have now.
Gordon, did you have a question?
I do not.
Oh, I thought you did.
I have one.
You have one.
Does that, it sounds to me like then that might actually require another poll worker to feed the counting machine from the voting, or feed the paper from the voting machine into the counting machine before the
Yeah,
voter is finished.
Obviously, I'm very early at looking at some of the voting systems, but yeah, one of the things that we talked about yesterday is you would have some type of marking system, and then you would have to have somebody basically at a scanner
Counter,
that
right, yeah.
counts,
Yeah.
and where the ballots would go in. But yeah, you would have to have somebody at that location.
Unbelievable.
So,
That's what it sounded like. I was just making
Yep.
sure I understood the flow of.
if you're going precinct, I mean, obviously, there's different ways you can look at it. That's looking at, you're still gonna count at the precinct level. There's also something you can look at called central counting, where they bring everything back here, and you would have some type of scanner count here. So there's different things I believe the board will have to look at. And I will be sending out something very soon about trying to get the board to see if there's their availability as far as demonstrations and having them come in. The vendor ES&S that we currently use is very good about, they want to come in and present what they have right now, that they're going to present to have certified through the new guidelines presented.
Will we also invite others to present, so we are
Yes.
not,
I already
we're
have
doing
made
our
a
due
call to
diligence?
Dominion, that's the other big one out there. I have a working relationship with their sales individual, so I did send out an email. I want to have some conversations, and then obviously we'll be looking at anybody else that might be out there. Those are the two main ones.
But first, it has to be decided that what's going to be
Absolutely.
acceptable. Right.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just trying to make sure that, gonna do some work, but at this point, the plan is, if they don't decertify, we're gonna use our voting systems that we have, because they work, and there is no issues, regardless of what you're hearing, you know, with some of these media reports or these advocacy groups. You know, they're trying to tie this whole hacking Russia thing with voter registration systems in with voting systems, and those are two completely different systems.
These machines are totally independent.
Correct.
They're not hooked into any
They are not
system.
hooked into the internet, the computer I
They're not
use-
even plugged in when they're being used to electrical supply. They're battery operated.
Well, we do plug them in for electric, just because the battery only lasts so long. So if we lose electricity, then they can keep working. So we do, that is the only thing they are
They're
plugged
not
into
plugged
is
into the
electric.
internet.
No, nothing is. The computers that we use for our election returns is not, the voting machines themselves. You know, the reports out there being able to hack these machines, it's one of those deals where they would have to have unlimited access and unlimited amount of time to be able to actually do anything with the voting machines. And in that point, all they really would be able to do is try to somehow figure out how to make it not count correctly. Because the ballots are not on our voting machines. I think that's where a lot of people in the public get confused, is they believe the ballots are right on those voting machines, and they're not. It's actually something we do outside, and then we use the PEBs and the flash drives that we load for every different election. That is what has the ballot on it. And you can't hack a ballot if it's not on the machine. The only thing you could do would be trying to somehow change the way it counts votes, and like I said, unlimited access. That's the only way you would be able to do it in unlimited time.
I guess my question, and the real issue is the state improving the security on their system? Because if somebody were to hack, it would be the state system, not our individual machines.
Yes, and they are, and I can tell you that we have had several discussions regarding security. I believe it's April 10th, there'll be a conference call regarding security and what we can do on our end as far as securing our passwords, being very careful about emails that we open, because that could cause a virus that might somehow be able to get our information. But one of the things you have to remember is the statewide system, the way we access it is outside of the county system. The shore system, we have different passwords and different sign-ons for that. And so yes, I know they're taking it very seriously. They're even giving us best practices on how we can secure our voting machines. I know you and I have had a little bit of discussion on that. And so, you know, we're taking all that very seriously. But even the vendor, ES&S, has tweaked and made some good changes as far as how they give us information, how we access their information to make it more secure. So I think everybody is taking this very, very seriously. I just think that there are, in some regards, overreaction to some of the things you're hearing as far as what was attempted and what actually occurred. Because they're, go ahead.
I just want to go back. I want to be very clear about the state system versus the voting. Those are two very separate things. The state system is where all voters' information and registration is maintained.
Correct.
The voting is only at the county level. The state has no machines, they
have
don't
no
count
access.
votes,
Nope.
they have no access to the machines.
That's
So
correct.
when we refer to the state system and the county's voting machines, they're just two entirely
Is a record
different
system.
things. So
Yes.
I just want
But
to
the
be, that
results go
distinction.
up to the state. The results go up.
Well, just for them to post or to
Correct.
keep on record, they
But
don't
if they
have.
would change the numbers is the point, that's where they would try and do it.
Right, but you have to remember, we still have the numbers. We
Yes.
have them here, I'm sending them to them, and that's actually through a portal.
I just-
But if that gets changed there, I still have them here.
Absolutely.
And
And I agree,
so,
I agree.
yeah,
Just wanted to
it's just
really
one of those things,
reinforce
it's
that.
as simple as, you know, we go through, even to get them on the website, there's a whole security process to even do that. So,
Understood. I just want to reinforce that those are two different.
Yes,
Because
and you
in
are
that
correct.
conversation, we were talking about both things and it seemed to be
Yeah.
interchangeable and.
They're not, you are correct.
Well, you pointed out, I just want to reinforce it.
Yeah, because everything gets lumped together in the media, and I don't know, I think it's because that there is, no offense to those sitting there, but I think sometimes it gets, you know, confusion as far as, there's a statewide system controlled by the Department of State, and there's exactly what we do here, what every county does, and their security and the voting machines, and they're completely separate.
Okay, with that said, is there a motion to adjourn the Board of Elections?
Is there anything else you want?
No.
Nope, I'm, I just came prepared.
All right, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. We stand
Thank you.
adjourned.
Thank you for all you're doing to protect our elections.
Reconvene the Board of Commissioners. John's up. John, good morning.
Good morning. Four documents this time. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Ames. Good morning, everybody. I'm here this morning to request your authorization to submit a grant application to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency in the amount of $1,170,000 over the next 2 fiscal years. This state grant funding would enable the county to continue 2 important elements of our intermediate punishment plan, namely the very successful long-running Renaissance Crossroads program, the 34-month treatment inpatient, outpatient treatment program for drug and alcohol addicted offenders. And the other component would be the home confinement electronic monitoring aspect of IP for Renaissance Crossroads participants and other eligible offenders. The $1,170,000 figure is the maximum amount that the state said that Lebanon County could apply for. So again, that is for over 2 fiscal years. Well, since we only have a year-to-year great state budget, things could change. We might be asked to revise those numbers somewhere along the line, but for this, at least right now, it's $1,170,000. Renaissance Crossroads program really would be the recipient of most of this funding in keeping with the grant guidelines. That would be treatment-based funding. About 86% of that $1 million plus budget would be earmarked for the Renaissance Crossroads program, with the remainder being earmarked and appropriated for supervision costs, really part of the salary benefits of probation officers who supervise participants at the crossroads, and also on electronic monitoring home confinement. As you know, Pennsylvania Counseling Services really does operate the Renaissance Crossroads program. They operate that out of leased space at the Lebanon VA Medical Center. Just to be clear, because some people assume if it's at the VA Medical Center, it's for veterans only. That is not the case. That is just where they lease the space, but that is really for any eligible levels 2, 3, or 4 offenders, nonviolent whose drug and alcohol addictions have led them to commit crime. And that has been a very successful program, a very good track record since its implementation in 2001, getting offenders to break free of addiction, get their lives back on track, and then really becoming successful citizens and really not returning to the criminal justice system. And we think that we certainly have the figures working with Pennsylvania Council to make the case to the state that this is a good program. It's a judicious use of public dollars, and I really would not see a reason why the state would deny us funding over the next 2 years. But we would, again, ask your authorization to submit the application, and the narratives make the case, and we'll certainly keep everyone posted what we do here from the state one way or the other.
Yes, I do.
I'll make a motion. I also, could you clarify for me, along with this motion, the cash match? Is that $426,810? Is that over the 2-year period, and is that coming from the general fund?
Well, yeah, it would be over the 2 years, about $213,000 a year. Yeah, the cash match, I was a little confused. It's not county cash match, but we were asked to do, or what the state asked us to do when we're putting this application together, is to show that medical assistance funding by Pennsylvania Council will be accessed first, that first source. It's really not money that we are requesting. Again, that dollar figure is really apart from the $1.1 billion
Okay,
that we're requesting.
so the $426,000 is partially MA funds. It's
That
not off
is
of
all
general
MA funding through Perform Care, yes. We were
Okay,
asked to,
thank you.
and that is the first source that is being accessed, and a lot of the participants are eligible for medical assistance, but obviously we can't restrict it to that. And that really is an estimate, and it's probably not going to be exactly to the penny. It's really hard because you don't know what clients are eligible for what coverage and so forth. But yes, it's the supposed to line mine under cash match, and it does get a little confusing sometimes, but it's not money that we're actually requesting or obligated to pay out of county funds.
It's a
So,
very worthwhile program. I
Yes.
just wanted clarification.
yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the grant application.
Matt, if I could ask just this, if we're awarded the $1,170,000 over 2 years.
Yes.
Annually, then, is that a slight increase from what we've been getting? Or is it, what have we been getting from PCCD for
Right now, and again, we had to go through about 2 different budget revisions over the last 2 years, so we actually not getting much. It's pretty much in line with what we've been getting.
About the same.
About the same, and I think that's why the county, the state establishes these caps for the counties based on, I think, an average of the last couple of grant awards.
Okay, and if it doesn't come through at this level, which is what I had to do for many years now, is it's been decreasing. So if it doesn't come through at this level, what's plan B? Is, PCS has stepped up before.
Yes.
And said, all right, we'll absorb a little bit more. Have you had that discussion yet with them, or we just gotta wait and see what happens here?
Well, we haven't had the discussion about what might happen, but the reality is Pennsylvania Council has worked with us to really do the budget narratives when we were asked to revise the budgets. And we do try to keep, again, most of the budget toward treatment. I know in the past that they've had to reduce their budgets a little bit. We reduced the supervision budget, but yeah, they're very good. Ruthie Davis, who's the chief financial officer, we exchanged a lot of emails and phone calls about budgets and, you know, space and bed days and so forth, and they will work with us, but it's been a...
So it's about the same, and at this point, you sound optimistic that we'll get what we are, but PCS, you'd have to get to the table again with PCS if it didn't come through as expected.
That's it, and it's a very good collaborative effort. We've had no issues. They'll do what they need to do. We do what we need to do from our end, and it has been a really good working rapport, in my experience of doing this particular grant, so.
It's over 15 years now, isn't it?
Since, I think it started in 2001. February 21st, 2001, and there's some breakdown of stats that we were required to submit when we're doing the grant application, and it's a good track record.
All right, I think I have a motion on the floor. And are there any other questions or discussion? All right, with that said, all those in favor of the grant application as presented, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Good work.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Sean Barrett, I'm the Assistant District Attorney of the District Attorney's Office. This is Kathy Smith of the Victim Witness Program. We are here because next week is National Crime Victims Rights Week. Obviously, the rights of victims are important to both our office, the District Attorney's Office, and the Victim Witness Office. So I believe with that, Kathy,
Next week, April the 8th through the 14th, is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Individuals and communities are victims of over 20 million crimes each year. Although years of investment in crime victims' rights have developed a system of victim response, there are still too many victims without meaningful access to services. Many victims face challenges such as isolation, distrust of authorities, lack of transportation, language limitations, or cultural barriers that keep them from accessing the services that can help them recover from crime. This year's theme, Expand the Circle, Reach All Victims, emphasizes the importance of inclusion in victim services and the necessity of expanding the movement to include those that may not typically be considered providers. Employers, educators, houses of worship, healthcare providers, and others are making important contributions to the victims field. By building relationships across disciplines, we expand the opportunity for victims to disclose their victimization to someone they trust, get connected to services, and receive the support they need. Reaching and serving all victims of crime is essential to supporting thriving communities. The Lebanon County Victim Witness Program will continue to increase outreach to victims who are underserved and will work diligently to build partnerships with service providers in these communities to break down barriers for victims. Today, I would like to respectfully request that you proclaim April the 8th through April 14th, 2018, Crime Victims' Rights Week here in Lebanon County.
You have a problem.
I do mirror some of that.
Okay.
Whereas Americans are the victims of 20 million crimes each year. Whereas reaching and serving all victims of crime is essential to supporting thriving communities. And whereas many victims face barriers that keep them from accessing the services and criminal justice systems that can help them recover from crime. Whereas we must make a dedicated effort to expand the circle of those prepared to respond to victims and link them to the resources that help them recover. And whereas engaging a broader array of healthcare providers, community leaders, faith organizations, educators, and businesses can provide new links between victims and services that improve their safety, healing, and access to justice. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that all victims of crime are afforded their rights and receive a trauma-informed response. And whereas the Lebanon County Victim Witness Program is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim responders, and working for justice for all victims and survivors. Now therefore, we, the Commissioners of Lebanon County, do hereby proclaim the week of April 8th through the 14th, 2018, as National Crime Victims' Rights Week in the County of Lebanon.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt the proclamation designating Victim Witness Week, April 8th through the 14th, correct? Any discussion or any comments anyone would like to make? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the proclamation indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Proclamation is adopted. Thank you. Present that to Daphne. My pleasure to present you with this proclamation.
We appreciate it, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations on getting that. Congratulations, thank you for joining us.
All right, what else do we have?
Oh, you'll bear with me at the stack. Let me first, while we're still on proclamations, if you don't mind, ask for your adoption of 3 different ones here. The first one being in recognition, there's an event coming up on April 10th, and this will be our last chance to get this approved prior to that between meetings. We just got some of the information, so we don't have it completely fleshed out. We'll get it to you for signature, but if you would, in the meantime, adopt first a proclamation recognizing the Sexual Assault Resource and Counseling Center for their 35th anniversary, which will be celebrated at a dinner coming up on April 10th.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to proclaim the 35th anniversary of SART. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Second, along those same lines and taking place at the same dinner, will be the recognition of Lebanon Family Health Services for 45 years of service to the community.
So moved.
Second.
And a second to recognize the Family Health for their 40 years of service to the community. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
And as you're aware, I went through the meeting here several, I guess probably a couple of months ago now, but Donna Lutz, the Recorder of Deeds, is retiring effective today. Donna, turns out, is not here today. Yesterday was her last workday, I guess, according to the retirement schedule. Or she's not exactly sure how that took place. She was attending on the 5th, but it was the 4th. She stopped up here yesterday just as this was being made ready for the meeting. And that's when I learned she wasn't going to be here today, and she already had plans this morning and so on. Commissioner Ames happened to still be here, so there was a mini presentation sort of here in the office, and I read it to her and so on. But there is a proclamation for Donna, and Donna has been served. She served first as the jury commissioner from January '98 to December 31st of '99. That's her first 2 years here, and then she was sworn in January 3rd of 2000 as the Recorder of Deeds and served 4 consecutive terms since then. So she's had over 20 years of service, and she's seemed kind of happy to maybe just leave quietly too, actually,
Yeah, I
yesterday.
think so.
think
She
didn't want to run a
seemed
big fuss.
more interested in breakfast this morning, so.
So I have that proclamation recognizing her for her over 20 years in the county.
We have a motion.
I would like to make a motion to thank and congratulate Donna and award her officially the proclamation from the County of Lebanon.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the proclamation honoring service by our Recorder of Deeds, Donna Lutz. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
All right, then on to, I've got several grant awards that were discussed yesterday at the workshop and are before you now for formal approval. The first are 2 hotel tax grants. The first being a request from the Lebanon Area Fair to purchase multi-species pens for their Lebanon Area Fair annually and other events that are held there. In the past, the Lebanon Area Fair for forever, I guess, has been renting and borrowing pens from the Elizabethtown Fairgrounds and the Pennsylvania Farm Show building. And
These are hog pens.
pardon me?
Hog pens.
Well, they said they can be used for sheep.
Yeah, multi-species they have
Okay.
in here,
But hog is the present need, yes.
yeah, at the fair, I think that's what they use it for primarily, yeah. And so they would like to have their own on hand, because that's just, as you can imagine, gathering those, and there's a cost to renting them from some of those entities and so on. So the total project cost of the pens would be $19,000. They're asking for $14,250 of that, and as we discussed yesterday, they, in their project description, made the case that the fair obviously attracts a lot of tourists from parts other than Lebanon County, and so as it fits into the criteria of the hotel tax grant, it's fitting. So.
Move to approve the full funding of that request.
I'll second the motion, but I also would like justification verbally so that others are going to question afterwards why we exceeded the $10,000 maximum.
I mean, it's your prerogative. I don't have an explanation for it other than you've done it for the holiday fair or the holiday lights. You've done it for the Historical Society, and I think each grant request as a board, you have the ability to. I mean, they're your rules. If you want to waive the 10,000 and grant more,
I just think, I personally, keep it very simple. I think it's worthy of making the exception. I see how hard these folks on the fair board work. No one gets paid a dime, and to put together an annual event like that brings people from, not only here in the county, but, all over the surrounding area, and is such a huge success and is recognized every year by the state. I think, to give $4,000 more than, typically the application approves, I think that's just cut and dried, very simple. Need another justification?
I think not. I concur.
All right, all those in favor of the grant award for the fair board to purchase the pens? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
And then the second one I have is an application from the Mount Gretna Area Historical Society. They are intending to redesign their website for the Historical Society, which is accessed again by tourists and visitors that make plans or are researching visiting Mount Gretna. And the cost to the project, they're asking for $3,400, which would be the cost that they would pay to their consultant who is developing or would be developing the redesign of their website. And then their match to this would be that they have their volunteers doing much of the work that can be done by them toward the redesign. So part of it is professional help, and the other part is volunteer help, which their county is their in-kind match.
I'll make a motion to approve the $3,400. I was able to read the application this morning, and what was most impressive to me was their inclusion of all the different entities in the Mount Gretna area, from the borough itself to the Chautauqua, Camp Meeting, the Heights, the Timbers, Conowingo Hill, Stoberdale, and Timber Bridge areas, as well as Colebrook and the National Guard and the Pullman family. It was impressive to read everything they're tying together with this one site.
Is that the end of your motion? Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the grant from the Hotel Tax Fund to the Mount Gretna Historical Society for web development. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Okay, then, next set of applications I have are for the,
Excuse me. Before you leave that, I would like to revisit the one from the playground. When I read that this morning, I did see a lot in there about the South Sixth Street playground, that they provide a destination for many teams outside the city for Lebanon to host tournaments, and that it would turn it in from one into two regulation teams so they could bring in additional players and guests. They're mentioning they come in from New York, New Jersey, Maryland, and that it connects to the rail trail, and those people and bikers and walkers tend to come in and also utilize that particular area and the grounds. So I'd like to make a motion that we also entertain and approve the request from the South Sixth Street Playground, and that amount is $10,000 out of a $50,000 to $60,000 total project cost.
Motion. Do we have a second?
And this is under tourism?
Yes.
That you're revisiting, okay.
as you know, that application came in literally as
Yeah,
sitting here yesterday, so.
I need more information.
In the dock for the lack of a second right now. Doesn't mean that we can't revisit that.
Further there for Marcellus?
No.
Okay. Marcellus Shale grant applications for 2018. Just by way of a refresher, about 6 years ago, the legislature created Act 13, which provided for the collection of fees from the Marcellus Shale wells to then redistribute to counties for transportation projects and as well as environmental related projects, and you have been granting those awards now for the past 5 years. The amount that's come to the county has been in slight decline from year to year. So 2 years ago, you decided that you would let 2 years accumulate before awarding the grants, rather than using just each year's amount and maybe not being able to spread it quite as far. So the last round was awarded in the end of 2016, end of 2015, then you let it go for 2016 and 17, and now doing a round for 2018. Some of this money you did already commit to the Farmland Preservation Program as match toward their program, when they can leverage for more dollars from the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. So you've done, over the last 2 years, $85,000 of the revenue toward that, which leaves you with about $120,000 to give otherwise to grant applicants. And you received 8 applications. And after working through these yesterday and discussing the various requests and amounts, I'll recommend what you arrived at and propose it to you to put it in a formal motion.
We can do these all.
Yeah, we could do them all.
Yeah, I'll just list them and then you can, so they would be to the Lebanon Valley Rails to Trails Incorporated for the John Wangert Memorial Park for landscaping work at that park in the amount of $15,000. To the Lebanon County Conservation District, to the Envirothon for the costs related to that, for that program for high school, middle school, and elementary school students, to the tune of $20,000.
This is 10 per year.
Yes, this is spread over, however they decide, yeah. For that one, that was an annual program. North Lebanon Township, for their Lenny Lenape Park walking path extension, a 1,200-foot extension of existing walking path, would be awarded $13,300. The Clarence Shock Memorial Park at Governor Dick is building an ADA accessible boardwalk and viewing platform, and has received a DCNR grant and would put their grant toward the matching funds, and you propose doing $10,000 of the funds toward that project. Jackson Township, for park pedestrian bridges and a trail at the Jackson Recreational Park. That would be for $13,300. The Lebanon Valley Conservancy, again for the John Wenger Memorial Park. This portion, the Conservancy is planning to complete for that park are the Phase 1 site amenities to be signage, picnic tables, game tables, chairs, bicycle racks, and pavilions. That would be for $15,000. South Lebanon Township would like to repave the skirting around their 6 pavilions and behind the maintenance shed. Toward that, you would put $13,300. And lastly, the Lebanon County Historical Society has several expenses that they're asking to be paid from this grant for the re-erection of the crawl log farm at the Union Canal Tunnel Park, and their portion would be $20,000, which totaled up as $120,000.
Okay, I'll have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the Marcellus Shale grants as read. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Okay, I have an application for liquid fuels county aid from North Cornwall Township, and they would like to use it toward their 2018 paving project, overall project, which is estimated to cost $128,000. Their allocation for liquid fuels would be $7,553.
552?
3.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve that Marcellus, or the liquid fuels grant. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
At the Lebanon County Community Action Partnership, I have 2 different items here. The first being a closeout report for the supported housing program funds that are received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Their allocation toward that program was $26,625, and that is what was spent on the program, and requires your approval and signature on the report to HUD to close out that grant.
A motion to accept that closeout of that fund.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second to close out that fund as requested. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Also have medical assistance transportation contracts for private drivers for medical assistance transportation program eligible clients, and those private drivers would be Nancy Lebo and Guy Lebo for the 2017-18 program year.
I so moved to approve Nancy and Guy Lebo as MAPP drivers.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve those driver contracts. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Also discussed at yesterday's workshop, Larry Taylor was in and brought you up to date on the activities that he's anticipating for the next round of solid waste management plan that is required by DEP. And the first step in that plan is for a letter from the county commissioners to be sent to DEP, essentially intending to go through that process and notifying DEP that Lebanon County will be making a non-substantial plan revision, and that this will involve the creation of I forget exactly what he's calling that, but it's an advisory committee for the solid waste management plan, along with plans for extra capacity, which will be probably detailed out a little bit later over the next 10 years, for the next 10 years. So need a letter, or a motion to send this letter off to DEP under your signature.
Motion for the letter.
So moved.
Second?
All right, I have a motion and a second to comply with Larry Taylor's request for the landfill plan going forward. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Next I have disabled veteran exemption requests being forwarded by the County Assessment Office, and they are for John H. Mitchell of Pennsylvania Avenue in Mount Gretna, and Levon Heft of East Main Avenue in Myerstown. Both of whom have met the criteria and are eligible for the exemption from sales state tax.
Also move to approve disabled vets John Mitchell and Leanne Heck, I believe you said?
Levon Heft.
Levon Heck.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve those tax
Real estate.
deferments, real estate tax exemptions for the two veterans. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
And I think the last item I have is the Borough of Jonestown is requesting an extension on their Marcellus Shale grant that was awarded to them the last round. It was awarded to them to extend their park trail in the Jonestown Community Park. They have not gotten to bidding and acquiring the work for that extension. However, they're intending to do that this fall as part of a larger bid package at the borough. Their current grant award would expire this July, and they're asking for an extension to next July.
Do you have the amount on that award?
$8,125 they were awarded.
Thank you. Also, I think I heard the last one, sorry.
So you want to vote?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to give that grant time extension. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So ordered.
Good.
I have one more thing.
I'm confused.
Bob Bentley was going to bring
Bob's
something up.
Oh,
Bob's
sorry.
up.
Okay.
As you know, I circulated the memo around concerning our retirement fund return assumption for the actuarial report. In light of the recent market developments and, as we've heard, the different stock experts coming in here, that the long-term rate of return they believe is going to be somewhat south of 7.5%. Korn Ferry suggested that we consider lowering to 7.25%. And on that memo, I had asked Hank to do what would happen if we go to 7. The only reason I picked 7 is currently, over the past several years, other counties have dropped. There are 14 counties at 7% now. As you can see, what the effect would be, obviously, we lower, it'll lower our funded ratio, our unfunded liability will go up somewhat, and our required contribution will go up accordingly. As of 2 days ago, just by way of it, I had talked to Mike Battistelli, we're down 2.1% for this year. So, I don't know, they're ready to complete the actuarial report, and they're just waiting to see what we decide if we're going to lower it or not. I mean, 7.5 to 7% is a big jump. I don't know if we want to go that far, if we want to go to 7.25.
Or do nothing.
What's that?
Or do nothing.
Or do nothing, correct. Stay where we're at and ride the wave and see where we're going.
How many years have we been at 7.5%?
What's that?
How many years have we been at 7.5%?
We've been at 7.5% as far as I know since the start of the inception.
So that's, I
Since
guess,
the
where I'm going with
inception.
that is we've had, I think, 5.9 or whatever has
Right.
been the real return, and we've kept it at 7.5. Now all of a sudden, we're basing it on a forecast, which it just seems unusual that.
Well, Jamie had shared an email with me from Jay Winger, and he had talked about the 10-year trailing return. Our 10-year trailing return is 6.4 currently. Now, that included 2008. Once 2008 goes off, I think we'll be up in the neighborhood of not 7 or just slightly over 7. So I'm just bringing it up
Yeah,
so that
what was last year's?
last year we were 11, but the year before we were.
No, not last year's. Was, 11 was last year.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so,
I mean, I'm bringing it up just for the sake of discussion, so that I can tell Corn Ferry that we're not changing it, just to go ahead and leave it as it is, or we are changing it.
Two quick observations. One, Sally left. She's a member of your retirement board, so she's not here for part of the discussion. The second thing is that, as Bob pointed out in his memo, there's $3,140,000 budgeted for the 2018 required contribution. That was based on last year's
Right.
actual report,
Correct.
which is what he's referring to here, that they're wrapping up this year. And that's expected to go down to 2.6 million.
2.6, correct.
So, you know, you can only budget for what you know in a given year.
Right.
If you lower the expectation for the assumed return to 7%, the required contribution for this year would be $3,201,000, which is actually higher than what you budgeted for. So that's, I just want that
Yeah,
to
I
be
just
made
put those
known that
there
if you're
for
doing that,
sake
you're.
of seeing how it, I just asked them for that number so that we could see the effect.
Yeah, and as Bob says, you know, many counties are considering this, and some have acted on it. So, just wanted to make those two observations.
What's your pleasure, folks?
Well, I think this is 2018, so 2008 is going to drop off, and we will be up at our projected rate for the 10-year trailing return. So I don't really see a need to change it personally.
we'll be up at our, say that again? We'll be up at our rate?
Around the 7%
That
mark.
was 6.4.
Well, 6.4, but 2008 was negative 21, so you drop that off. I would guess we're gonna go up about another percent.
Yeah, did Hank indicate what dropping that 10th year would bring it to? I don't know.
No,
He verbalized
he
7%.
didn't give that to me yet, because
Well, no, he said they're recommending 7.
they're
You
recommending
said
7.25.
You said dropping off the 2008 year would get us to the 7.5, and I don't know
In
that.
round figures, it might not be exact, but it'll get us to the 7% range, is what I heard him say.
Corn Ferry has been recommending 7.25 in most counties. But I'm comfortable with whatever the board decides.
No. To be honest with you.
Mine is to let it ride another year and see where we are after the 08 drops off. It would be my,
But I felt I needed to at least.
We appreciate
at least
that.
address this, so we can go forward with the report.
You said you're
Yes.
comfortable. We don't need any action.
Not really.
Okay.
Yes, I do have something I'd like to bring up, then, if I may, please. I'd like to make a motion that we proceed to try and seek funders to help cover a 15% match. And upon successful completion of that, by May 31st, submit a grant request to do a baseline groundwater study. And I had provided information to my colleagues along with letters of support. And I outlined 10 points and tried to back it up with documentation. And I think that this is all information that can be utilized within the grant application. I think it's something that we really need. We heard at the beginning of today's meeting, additional 100 violations, et cetera. So I think it's something that we really need to do to document the groundwater as it is today, as a baseline. We don't know what the future holds, but we can't survive without clean water. So my motion is to proceed with seeking funding. To wait would guarantee failure, and I'm not willing to risk that because we do need time to approach people to get their votes so that they can say a successful grant, they would produce so much funding.
I'm not in a position to make a second, or to do offer a second on this yet. I need more time to study it. Just
Have you reviewed the information that Jamie has put together?
Yes, I have.
And you feel confident that we can get this grant?
I feel confident it's worth the try. We have nothing ventured, nothing gained.
When 45% of the scoring of this grant is based on whether or not you're in one of the active drilling areas, and we are not, so you begin with a negative 45 before you make application.
Respectfully, sir, some of the people have already done it, so they will be dropped out of that pool of people seeking it. Others may not be interested, and I am interested, the county is interested. I have 7 letters of support that say it's the right thing to do, and it's time that we get off the center focal point here and move forward.
Okay. I'm not going to second the motion.
Some work by our planning department and by Jamie they've given me some bullet points that I need either more clarification on, but it leads me to the same conclusion that if USGS put us the criteria that pipeline would be the criteria for, rather than Marcellus shale drilling, then I'd say all in for, applying for it. But that's not what this is about. If you look at all that are approved, it's all the northern tier where all the heavy drilling has been done. So that's why I need more time to study it to conclude that we should do it now. For me, would be premature.
Well, the fact of the matter is, this county has Marcellus shale land where it can be drilled. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. As they have to drill deeper into the Utica soil and it costs more to drill that deep, they're going to move to the easy picks, and that means our northern tier is going to get drilled sooner or later. We need the baseline groundwater study to know where we are. We have Fort Indian Town Gap to think about out there. We have the chicken plants to think about out there. They're already in a water deficit area. We need this information. We need it now. And so I strongly, respectfully request that you change your mind and second the motion. It doesn't hurt to try. I think that doing the groundwork now, even if unsuccessful this year, can help us to get feedback, to know where we need to strengthen our application so we can resubmit next year.
We say it doesn't hurt to try, but even if we were successful, the folks that would be required, the conservation district the example that, one of the examples are in, that in Wayne County, 11 to 12 hours per day for 10 weeks was what they.
I would be willing to volunteer my time, and I'm sure I can find other volunteers to help.
I'm just saying, these are things that I need to investigate further, and I need to do my due diligence.
I think we can get lots of volunteers to assist with this grant application. I don't think it all has to fall on the planning department or the conservation district. I think it can be a team effort and it can be done. I've had some success in writing grants, and so I'm not uncomfortable with helping to fill in the dots and the lines on the application.
Yes, and this is no way indicating my not support for clean water. I don't want that to be interpreted that. I just need more time because I only got your packet late yesterday.
But I've been giving pieces along the way. I had given them to Jamie, and he forwarded the letters to you. And then I also did some more research, and I thought those were things that could go into the grant application. So it wasn't wasted time on my part.
Yeah.
It's all in one. It's 39 pages
Information
of
is
documentation.
good to have for me to review, so thank you.
Pending the need for further review, the motion lacks a second.
We can revisit it another time.
Anything else? Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.